Good day, everyone. Welcome to Canadian Idiocy for the fourth week of November 2015. Now, this episode will deal more with the province of Ontario than all of Canada, as the Ontario government allows medical marijuana users to vaporize and smoke anywhere. But since our newly elected King Tumbler Prime Minister Justin Trudeau wants to legalize marijuana all across Canada, and sees pretty much eye to eye with his lesbian twin, Catherine Wynne, the Premier of Ontario, on pretty much everything, I could easily see this becoming a nationwide issue, not just a provincial one. Now, I want to make something perfectly clear before we begin. I'm not some super right-wing dictator that is completely against marijuana and has never tried it. I've been to college and graduated twice, so I've had my fair experiences with the drug.
The provincial government has a message for marijuana users tonight. Smoke them if you got them. Or more specifically, smoke them if you got a prescription.
Now, the first thing we need to establish is who's eligible for a prescription of marijuana in Canada. To make sure I don't blow this out of proportion, I mean, it could easily just be chemo patients and old ladies with glaucoma that have prescribed marijuana. So let's have a look to see who's eligible to have a prescription of marijuana in Canada. Medical conditions that may entitle you to medical marijuana are as follows: multiple sclerosis, spinal cord injury disease, cancer, HIV, AIDS, severe arthritis, epilepsy, ADD, ADHD, eating disorders, arthritis in general, auto accidents, Alzheimer's disease, brain injury, chronic pain, chronic nausea, colitis, Crohn's disease, kidney failure, dialysis, fibromyalgia, irritable bowel syndrome, migraines, muscular dystrophy, muscle spasms, Parkinson's disease, sleep disorders, anxiety, post-traumatic stress disorder, hepatitis C, gastrointestinal disorders, back and neck problems, depression, sexual dysfunction. Why not just show a big book of medical diseases and say, anything found in here, marijuana can fix? It has literally become the snake oil of Canada.
Your young friend could use some help. This is it. $1 a bottle. It works wonders on wounds.
Works wonders on just about everything, huh?
It can do most anything.
Comes with stings.
Seriously, marijuana to treat ADHD? For what? To make sure you pay absolutely no attention in case you are just slightly paying attention? It's not like we haven't had countless studies that show marijuana impeding mental function and memory loss. Now, I'm not sure how a drug that supposedly increases your heart rate is supposed to help you sleep, but I'm going to go on a limb and say it probably doesn't. Marijuana to treat sexual dysfunction? Well, coming from someone who's tried the drug firsthand and is familiar with the research of marijuana, I can tell you right now, pot doesn't give you a boner. In fact, it does just the opposite, and the research is there to back it up. On top of giving you erectile dysfunction, marijuana also takes the bullets out of your gun. So unless there's a marijuana out there laced with Viagra, it's more honest to suggest it as a means of birth control. However, maybe I'm blowing this out of proportion. Marijuana, or more specifically, medical marijuana, is a drug, and a doctor has to prescribe it for you, right? Well, no. Not in Canada, anyway. Nurse practitioners can also prescribe medical marijuana. You can't make this shit up. And this just isn't in Ontario either. In 2013, the federal government made it legal for nurse practitioners to prescribe medical marijuana in Canada. No, I'm sorry, Mr. Johnson. As your medical physician, I cannot in good conscience prescribe you medical marijuana for your Twitter PTSD. Might I suggest next time you feel anxious from internet drama, you shut your computer down and take a little break. I want to speak to the nurse.
The Liberals announcing an exemption to the Smoke-Free Ontario Act, which...
The Smoke-Free Ontario Act was introduced in 1994 and has gotten stricter ever since, almost to the point of lunacy. Now, I'm not a tobacco smoker, never have been, but the fines are actually quite steep. They're based on the offense and number of convictions the person or corporation has received. The maximum fine for the individual start at $1,000 and can get up to $100,000, while the maximum fines for corporations start at $5,000 and can get up to $600,000. They do enforce these, and I know more than one person who has been fined $1,000 for selling a pack of cigarettes to a person under the age of 21, who looked older than they were. And when you're making minimum wage, $1,000 isn't exactly pocket change, even in Canadian funds.
bans smoking in all restaurants, patios, and public places. If you have a prescription for medical marijuana, you can light up anywhere, in a restaurant, at work.
I'm pretty sure this will have no repercussions, refractions, or violations of individual rights for people who don't want to be exposed to secondhand marijuana smoke. I mean, you can always just not finish your meal you paid for or quit your job and join the unemployment line.
Unless
the owner and the employer has the ability to say that you cannot smoke medical marijuana here.
Based on this logic and train of thinking, the Smoke-Free Ontario Act should be obsolete as a whole. In fact, most government regulations and laws should be axed because people will always do the right thing and never take advantage or abuse a situation, right?
So stopping someone from smoking medical marijuana is now up to the property owner. Specifically, the changes the government will bring in surround e-cigarettes. Now, bear with me while I get down into the weeds here. The recently passed Smoke-Free Ontario Act bans the use of e-cigarettes and vaporizers anywhere that cigarettes are prohibited. Smoking a medical marijuana joint is not against health regulations and never has been.
That's because, for the most part, smoking marijuana has been illegal. I'm pretty sure there are no health regulations for dust clouds of cocaine either. To its credit, marijuana does help ease the symptoms of chemotherapy, and has been known to inhibit and help kill certain types of cancer cells according to the National Cancer Institute. However, marijuana has also been linked to causing other types of cancers, such as head, neck, and lung cancers. Furthermore, marijuana potentially helps people with glaucoma, but unless you're suffering from these diseases, marijuana isn't beneficial. In fact, just the opposite. According to the Canadian government's own website, the short-term effects include red eyes, increased heart rate, drop in blood pressure, lightheadedness/fainting, risk of heart attack and stroke. The long-term effects include chronic ongoing cough, increased phlegm buildup in the throat/mucus, frequent chest problems, and greater risk of lung infections. Now, you may have noticed that the long-term effects of marijuana smoking are similar to that of tobacco smoking. This is hardly surprising since tobacco and marijuana share many of the same compounds in the form of toxins, irritants, and carcinogens. Marijuana smoking has effects on pulmonary functions and respiratory complications. It can trigger allergies, causes motor function impairment, is linked to heart problems, memory impairment, schizophrenia like brain changes. Smoking marijuana clearly shows it damages the human lungs, according to the American Lung Association, and marijuana use also doubles the chances of you getting in a vehicle accident, something I will address in more detail a little later.
But with these amendments, neither will vaping, provided you have that prescription. Now, why should medical pot users be allowed to light up or vape?
Because it's their medicine. It's the same thing as taking an insulin injection for diabetes. It's really no different.
Except for the obvious fact there's no such thing as secondhand insulin shots. When you take insulin for diabetes, you're not running over to the table or cubicle next to you stabbing the person with insulin. At least I hope you're not. And if you are, you should be arrested.
These people are prescribed marijuana by their physicians
Or nurses if you slipped them $20.
and have authorization to legally use it. So there's no reason they shouldn't be able to use it as prescribed.
Now, you don't have to be a medical physician or lawyer to see the folly in this argument. I've already shown the health risks of marijuana smoke, so it is completely reasonable not to want to be exposed to secondhand marijuana smoke like secondhand tobacco smoke, whether it be from a coffee shop, restaurant, or your place of employment. However, it goes deeper than that. On top of having very strict anti-smoking laws, at least as far as tobacco smoke goes, Ontario and the rest of Canada also have very strict drinking and driving laws, even at a first offense. For a first DUI offense, you can lose your license up to a year, indefinitely at the third DUI offense. And God forbid if you actually get in an accident and kill somebody, you can be charged with manslaughter and serve prison terms. These laws also extend to any mind-altering substances, regardless if it's prescribed or not, and marijuana is considered one of these substances. This is completely justifiable, as smoking pot doubles your car accident risks, something that even the Canadian liberal media has admitted to. So now the question remains, is the restaurant owner, building owner, or my employer liable if they don't call me a cab because I'm too stoned to drive from being exposed to secondhand marijuana smoke? Or maybe we should just hold the Ontario Health Minister responsible. I wonder how quickly the law would change after that.
More than 24,000 Canadians have a prescription for medical marijuana, but I'm sure you have questions. Like, could you light up medical pot at Queen's Park, for example? Well, that's up to the building owner, says the minister. What about parents with kids at a playground that want someone to turn off the medical marijuana e-cigarette?
We expect the owners of any playground to be around supervising the kids.
Yeah, screw the kids. It's not like marijuana has shown any adverse effect on developing brains.
That really doesn't seem workable.
No, it doesn't.
Oh, what about the opposition? Are their eyes all red with rage over these amendments? Not really. In fact, the last word on this story goes to NDP leader Andrea Horwath.
If you're in a restaurant, you're exposed to secondhand marijuana smoke. You don't like it. What do?
I'll probably eat more.
Well, aside from the fact I hope you're not driving home, the last thing you need to be doing, Adrian Horvath, is eating more.
I wasn't gonna run from the cops, but I was high. I'm serious, man. I was gonna pull right over and stop, but I was high. Now I'm a paraplegic, and I know why. Why, man? Yeah, 'cause I got high. Because I got high. Because I got high.